I will now show you some of the errors you can get when you compile a code. For example, here you have the hello world code. So let's see what's happening when we miss, for example, the semicolon here at the end of the printf line. And then I hit the compile button. As you can see, we have a message that I will copy paste to explain a little bit more at the bottom of the code. So the message is this one, user input 328. So first, 3 is the line number. You can see here, this is line number 3. 28 is supposed to be the number of characters since the beginning of the line, number 3, until we arrive to the error. And then we have the error. Error, expected semicolon after the expression printf. And here you can see that we miss a semicolon where exactly at this position. So then I go here and I add the semicolon. Let me erase the message and I try to compile again. As you can see, we don't have any compilation error. That means that we don't have any syntax error because the compilation process checks the syntax of the code. So we can execute the code now that we don't have any compilation error. So I run the code and I have hello world in the terminal. Then I have to push back the edit button and let's try to erase the closing parenthesis, for example. And then I try to compile. What's happening? Oh, we have two messages here. Let me copy paste the messages. All right, the first one is line number 3, error expected, closing parenthesis, where? Well, you can see here exactly where. And there is a note after, note to match this opening parenthesis here. Well, this is quite explicit. It means that we need to put this closing parenthesis into compile again, and then I can run and it runs. Okay, let me edit back, and now we will erase the closing quote. I guess it will be the same when I compile. Oh, we have multiple messages now. Let me copy paste to see what's happening here. As you can see here, we have a first message warning missing terminating quote character. All right, and we can see the opening quote here. But then we do have multiple errors. This is a very good example because here you have multiple errors and notes that are completely unrelated to the first warning or error we had just here. So the thing is, when you have multiple errors like this, first you will have to focus on the first one only. And if you correct the first one, then maybe it will correct all the other ones. This is exactly what's happening here. If you read the error, you will not understand. Error expected expression, error expected closing brace to match this closing brace, opening brace for the main. Well, we don't quite understand why we have these errors. So we just try to focus on the first one. Okay, so missing quotes, we have to do the closing quote here. And then if I delete this and try to compile, then it works again and I can run the program. Let's try another thing. Then I have to click edit back. Let's try to forget the 0, for example. What's happening when I compile? I have this message that I will copy paste. So we have line 4, error non-void function main should return a value. Well, we'll see how the functions are working later in this course. So here it means I missed the 0. And let's try something else. Let's try to forget the closing brace. Compiling. And here you have another example of an error. expected closing brace note to match this opening one, that is the opening of the main function. So this is quite explicit, and we know we forget to close the main function actually. What else? If we forget the return, for example, I try to compile, and it works. So you will see that depending on what compiler you use in the professional world, well, sometimes for the main function, if you forget to put the return, then you won't have any error. But this is a special case. Well, that's it. We've seen many errors. So I go back to the edit mode, and you can try to edit this code and try to put some errors, syntactic errors, try to compile and see if you can understand the compilation errors and messages. So try with anything you want in the code here, and try to discover new errors and try to get used to this kind of messages. That's your turn. Syntactic errors, try to compile and see if you can understand the compilation errors and messages. So try with anything you want in the code here, and try to discover new errors and try to get used to this kind of messages. That's your turn.